My name's Darrell Eberly. My story is one of father wounds forgiven. My relationship growing up with my dad was a tough one. You see, my dad and generations before him carried a lot of anger and shame and depression. I remember being around 12 years old and not understanding why I was being hit and being beaten. The toughest part for me, though, were the words that my dad spoke to me. You're going to be standing in the welfare lines. Can't you do anything right? You will never amount to anything. Those early messages haunted me. I grew up on a Pennsylvania dairy farm, a conservative Mennonite farm boy. I had become driven to perform. I believed the lie that my value was only in my performance. Around age 22, during one of the toughest times with Dad, I had a dream one night. The setting in the dream was at the farm where my dad grew up. I was out in the yard with my siblings and my mom watching as Dad, in this dream, was running away from the family towards a massive angry bear at the edge of the woods. And I yelled, "Dad, stop! Stop! Dad, please stop!" At the last minute, Dad turned and started walking back toward the family. And I woke up suddenly knowing that God had given me this promise. This dream is a promise of restoration. Through the years, I had to ask myself, could I really forgive Dad after all he had said and done to me? With God's help, I chose to forgive him anyway, even though his actions towards me at that point were unchanged. Even after I forgave my dad, I secretly longed for a better relationship with him. Deep inside, though, I'll confess that after 74 years, I expected Dad to die a bitter, angry old man. 2 years ago in December, we got the news. Dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, given 90 days to live. And I prayed, God, please don't let it end like this. Not like this. And came the chemo, lots of tests, and so I watched him growing weaker. About that time, I asked Dad, as a way of honoring him, Dad, could you tell me about the early years with your dad? He said, sure. December 14th, 2014, all 5 siblings gathered around Mom and Dad's kitchen table with Mom and Dad, planning the details of Dad's funeral. Speakers were chosen. Music was chosen. Gravestone was ordered. It's like, was this really happening? During all the planning, Dad began to share about the anguish and the abuse that he had endured from his dad. And for the first time, I heard the story of how he forgave his dad at a location on the farm. As he shared about the anguish of his early years, Dad asked, with tears streaming down his face, Darrell, will you forgive me? Yes, Dad, yes. That evening in December, generations of abuse was forgiven, cut off, no more to be a part of our family. More tests, 90 days go by, and we all wondered what the cancer doctor would find. The doctor was puzzled. He couldn't find any trace of cancer. A miracle had taken place. In meeting with Dad soon after, I couldn't help but notice that cloud of shame and depression that hung over Dad, after 74 years, was gone. Not only had Dad forgiven him, not only had Dad healed him of stage 4 cancer, he had also healed him emotionally. His calloused heart had become soft, even kind. On my drive home to Lancaster that night, I remembered that dream. And I felt strongly that I wanted to drive a stake to celebrate victory over those generational curses. So I designed a stake in the shape of a cross with 3 words on it: forgiven, restored, generations. I asked Dad, can you show me where you forgave your dad? When he showed me, I became overwhelmed with emotion. It was the exact spot in my dream 29 years ago where Dad had turned away from the bear and started walking back toward the family. My dad and my son Dallas and I took turns driving the stake at that spot that day. We stood around it and prayed, and we celebrated restoration. Instead of those early messages I got from Dad, my orphan heart's getting new messages. God's given me new names like adopted son, chosen son of the Most High God, approved, full of grace, not of judgment, a celebrated son. God sees me as forgiven. God wasn't punishing me all those years. God's restoring what the enemy stole from me as a boy. Those haunting voices, well, they're quiet now. New messages, adopted son, celebrated son. I'm so proud of my dad for finishing well. He chose to forgive, to allow God to cut off those generational curses and to send new messages to his children. Thank you, Dad, for forever changing the legacy of our family. I honor you today for choosing to forgive, for the courage to forgive. I am so proud of you. What the enemy intended for evil, God has turned to good.